Hi, this is Chet Udell, and I'm going to show you briefly how to use the data processor plugins that are included with the new release with the eMotionSoft version 2.8 and more recent than that. So 2.8 is the most recent at the time of this recording. In any case, I have a eMotion basic application right here, and so I have a eMotion twist. You'll notice a cool new enclosure. Yes, we're working on making these things even more sleek and better with every new release. I also have a accelerate with a light sensor attached to port 1, and going to use both of those with the data processor. So this is a look at the eMotion version 2.8 application. And included with all this familiar looking stuff is a new folder called DataProcessorPlugins. And the DataProcessorPlugins folder should go into the MaxMSP Cycling 74 folder. The Cycling 74 folder, if you're using Max 7, can be accessed by right-clicking on the Max 7 application and then selecting Show Package Contents. Now you can drop this entire folder right here into the Cycling 74 folder. You'll have access to those data processor plugins. This is an incredibly powerful new way to get emotes and all of your sensor streams working in MaxMSP super fast. So the first thing you want to do is run the basic application, and I already have that. If you'd like to see how to use the basic application, go ahead and just click that Help Browser button. And another thing you should know is port 7451 and the IP address. This is a new feature in version 2.8, and I put that in because maybe you want to send your data directly to a computer or to a Kima system without having to use a third-party application. So this is all set up exactly for that. The data processor modules, the reason why I'm showing you this is because they run on port 7451 by default, but you can change that. So once you have your data processor plugins put into the Cycling 74 folder, this is your special file here. I'd like for you to copy it, and then let's create a new folder. I'm just going to do a new project folder, new Max Proj. And I'm going to copy that data processor file. Notice how I didn't move it, I just copied it. And then from here, once it's in your project folder, you can name it whatever you want. So this is the awesome data processor. And go ahead and open it up. The important thing now is that you have your eMotion basic application running, and that you have the various sensors on the network that you wish to use. Using Max 6, but it also works very well in Max 7. So this is your data processor. You can do as many copies of these as you wish for as many different projects, and so you can have a unique data processor for each project. To select an emote input, you'll notice that there are actually 3 different kinds of modules in your drop-down menu, and modules will spawn in this little window here. You have inputs, you have processes, you have outputs. So to get emote data in, you just select emote. You can unlock the patch and drag it over. Notice how the port is 7451, and this matches the port on your basic app. And then from here you can choose your accelerate or your twist. And I want you to notice that if you choose the accelerate right here, you need an instance number. So my twist is 0, my accelerate instance is 14. And so if you want the accelerate, in this instance, you have to set it to 14. And then let's choose port 1 because that is where my light data is coming from. And if you don't see data immediately, no worries. You can always click this refresh button here, and that should get your data to percolate just fine again. So accelerate 14 port 1 for my light sensor. So you can kind of see the data percolating as I move my hand further and closer with respect to that light sensor. Pretty cool. Then To select a second one, make sure the patch is locked, or you can Apple click if you do that. Select a emote here, and I'm going to make sure I have my twist. Instance number 0, because there it is right there, 0. And I'm going to select my gyroscope, Z. And so as I wiggle this thing from side to side, you can see the data percolating like that. Cool. Now at this point, what's really awesome is that you can save this data processor, and then I'm going to go ahead and quit MaxMSP. And then you can open this up at any time. So let's say tomorrow you want to work on your project, you just open up this data processor once more. And voila, our inputs are exactly as we had selected from the previous session. Pretty awesome. So the next thing we should do, oh, and if they aren't selected for some reason, you can always click the refresh buttons on the bottom here, and that should shock these things back into existence. You shouldn't have to do that though. All right, now we can explore a variety of processes. And to figure out which each of these things do, so let's say maybe you want to smooth your data. Well, you might want to drag these things into places where they're not colliding. Processors, you can connect inputs into those processors, or the outputs of the emote input into the inlets of the processor modules. And this one is smooth. And so maybe this one will be better fit for my photo sensor here. And so I can choose a resistance to smooth this data out, and the higher the resistance, the more smooth that data will be, but also the more sluggish it will be. So let's say I want a high resistance on rising data. You'll see how my data rose very quickly on this top track here, but very slowly on this bottom track. I'll do it again. So maybe you want like an amplitude that slowly increases over time with the data and then decreases quickly. Or vice versa. Maybe you want to snap it to the top real fast, so when you release, it takes a while for that data to go down. You can see the differences, those histograms. And then you can always click on this help button, and it will tell you exactly how that works. Some other pretty cool things is the scale curve. So this will expect data from 0 to 1. So how do you rescale this data if it's not between 0 and 1? Well, you're going to need another processor. Let's do range setter. And range setter, it doesn't matter what input data you have. It's only going to take a sliding scale minimum and maximum, and then remap that to an incoming range. So what's really cool about this is you can choose different inputs and outputs at any time. So you can do the accelerate or the accelerometer, and you'll notice that without having to specify the input range, my data is now rescaled to 0.1 point roughly. If you want to reset those ranges, then let's do that, move it to those extremities. So almost 127, almost 0. Right, so that's pretty nice. And then it expects data from 0 point to 1 point, this scale curve. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to input it in here. And so now what this is going to do is it's going to give me basically this curve. And you can change to a variety of curves. And so the data is going to go up and then back down as I sweep through my gesture. So this down here is my data 0 point to 1 point, and this is the outcoming data on this axis. It's pretty cool. Or you can draw your own. So you can always So now I can sweep through that range and have a special data points that I drew here. So that's pretty fun. All right, another cool thing is we have let's see, scale degree. So scale degree will take basically negative numbers and positive numbers. Kind of see here, so -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, where 0 is always going to be do, and 1 will be re or ra or whatever. But basically, these things remap scale degrees based on the chord that you select. So I'll just go ahead and do natural minor, C, key of C. I'm just going to bring this over here. Actually, I have this going to a range setter, so I'll just do -8 to +8. And this is the powerful thing that I'm talking about these data modules, is you can interconnect many of these. So here we go. And now my data right here is going from -8 to +8 are being retranslated into scale degrees in the key of C Aeolian. So that's pretty nice. Now there are various network opportunities to interact with the scale degree modules and all those fun things. Some things you may want to consider are the various outputs. So we have an open sound control output where you can send this data to a destination IP and a destination port. If you don't know what your IP address is, you can click on this thing to find my IP, select your interface, and that lists it right there. So if you're going to send it to yourself, you can do this one, which means yourself, or you can use that IP, same thing. And yeah, so these are your data processor plugins. You can save this session and restart anytime, and yeah, that's about it. Thanks.